Organizations don't change industry. People do. Through our human-to-human connection, we all have the power to ensure that our people have the best possible experiences to boost business performance and make a real difference in this field. Good afternoon to all of you. Last time I presented to the HR Congress, it was back in Nice in 2019. So it feels like it was ages ago, right? And a lot of things have happened, but it was certainly a moment that mattered for me and for my team. And today we're going to talk about the work we've done since 2019. And we're going to talk about how we, HR or P&C, People and Culture, as we call it at PMI, can support line manager to deliver better employee experience. So as Amy and Magali mentioned, my name is Magali Demierre, and I am the Global Head of Employee Experience at Philip Morris International. I joined PMI 4 years ago, and I have the pleasure to lead a team of 11 very talented individuals based in Manila, Krakow, Paris, London, and Buenos Aires. But before I tell you more about Line Manager and how we believe they are in a driving seat to deliver EX, I also wanted to spend a few minutes presenting our organization so you have a better understanding of the context we are operating in.
Imagine a business turning its back on what made it so well known in the first place. Imagine reinventing yourself to become something so different to what you once were. Imagine making a decision that results in the disruption of the very industry you operate in. At Philip Morris International, we've done exactly that. Our goal? Deliver a smoke-free future and transform for good. Replace cigarettes for good. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It's a well-known fact, smoking is harmful, yet there's still 1.1 billion smokers out there. And according to the WHO, that number will be the same in 2025. Quitting tobacco and nicotine altogether is always the best decision, but many don't. So for adults who don't quit, access to less harmful smoke-free alternatives can be part of the solution. Since 2008, we've invested more than $9 billion in the research and development of smoke-free products. We've hired hundreds of talented, innovative scientists, engineers, and change-makers to see our goal through. We are the only company within the traditional international tobacco sector to have committed to phasing out cigarettes. We don't need to imagine a smoke-free future. We're delivering one.
So as you know, you probably heard in the video, PMI is going through our smoke-free future. We have today 150 million consumers worldwide. We have 69,600 employees across the world, and we operate in over 118 markets. We also own 5 of the most world top cigarette brands, including Marlboro. And we have 2 smoke-free product research facilities in Switzerland and in Singapore. So now that you know a little more about the context we operate in, let me tell you why it's so critical to be consumer-centric and as a result, employee-centric. I'm sure you've heard it all along in this track and probably also throughout the conference. And you're probably already very familiar with Richard Branson's quote, right? Consumer don't come first, employee come first, because if you take care of your employee, they will take care of your consumer. This is a very famous quote. And it seems quite obvious, right? Employees that are looked after and empowered will do their best to get our customers happy and then get them to come back and buy more of a product. And as we all know, this is not just good for the employee, it's also good for the business. So we wanted to give you a little bit of data. We really like data at PMI. We wanted to give you a little bit of external data. And we've actually looked at some differences between the customer that give 5-star rating versus the customer that only gives 1 or 2-star ratings. And that's coming actually from Qualtrics. And here what you can see is those that gave a 5-star rating will buy more, 260%, will recommend your organization and your product more, 370%, and will also trust your product more, 330%. I'm sure you would admit that those are not small numbers. Josh Bersin company also conducted one of the most comprehensive study on the benefits of employee experience. And what they found is the following. Organizations that successfully address employee experience enjoy superior business, people, and innovation benefits. And here on the slides, you can see those data points. They are 2.2 times more likely to exceed financial targets. On the people side, they are 5.1 times more likely to engage and retain employees. And then finally, on innovation, they are 3.7 times more likely to adapt change, which we all know is super critical nowadays, and 4.3 times more likely to innovate effectively. So again, I know some of you might be starting your journey on EX, and you might need some data point to convince the leaders at the top of the organization to invest. So hopefully these data points are helpful to you. But truly, organizations that have invested in consumer centricity have had a competitive advantage versus those who didn't. And organizations that are realizing that employee experience, and by employee experience, we mean, the perception, the emotion, the connection, are not only critical driver to consumer choices, but they're also helpful in the employee decision to join or stay with your company, to advocate for your company and your brand, and to be engaged and go the extra miles. So for us at PMI, understanding the emotional and functional needs, as well as the ability to act upon employee insights, for us, and obviously to design improved experiences as a result, for us, we believe is a true competitive advantage. So today, why did we choose to talk to you about how we support Line Manager? Because as an employee, the most critical interaction that you have are with your line manager. And the moments that matter are done by design, not just by changes. And your manager is the one, and I think I heard this in the prior session, line manager is the one who's onboarding you. He or she is the one who's providing you clarity on your objective, assessing your yearly performance, recognizing your achievement on both the what and the how, and making you visible to senior leaders, as well as supporting your career trajectory and finally, potentially managing your exit. So before we get started, can we please launch the first poll? I really like to understand from the audience if some of you have already started equipping your line manager for listening and acting. So I wanted to explain how we made this shift towards a more employee-centric and data-driven organization in which we not only listen, but we also act upon employee feedback. And, I connect with a lot of employee experience leaders, in other organizations. And what they tell me is we're often very good at listening, but we're not always there when it comes to acting upon the results. So I wanted to share with you what we've done and hopefully give you a bit of inspiration. As a starting point, we established a comprehensive listening strategy. We went from one employee satisfaction survey every 2 years back in 2019 to now we have 2 pulses and 1 extended pulses per year. And we also established what we called life cycle survey. And through those life cycle survey, we're getting feedback on candidate and hiring manager experience, on onboarding experience, on position change when we have an employee already, an employee of PMI that is changing position. We send that employee a survey to find out what their experience is all about, and also exit experience. And we also provided access to their team data to line manager as long as they had at least 5 responses. But we knew that the access on its own would not move the needle on engagement. This was a new requirement, another new requirement asked from Line Manager to act upon their survey data. And we needed to really support them to understand not just the why they need to do this or what they need to do, but also help them with how they needed to do this. And as a P&C function, we also needed to strengthen the know-how on turning data into insights, into action in an agile manner. As you probably know, business partner being the first point of contact to Line Manager, they needed to be equipped with the capability first. Then Line Manager, as key enabler for employee experience, engagement and advocacy, they needed to be supported, equipped, as well as empowered to act upon their team data. Because dimensions such as clarity of objectives, providing and receiving feedback, well-being, recognition, career, they are all influenced by how Line Manager interacts with their team. And finally, as we increased our focus on the how, we needed to make sure that team data and insights were used by Line Manager as feedback mechanism on their leadership style to continuously work on improving their leadership behavior. And this obviously in line with the performance management approach and specific KPIs that needed to be looked at to fully assess the how. So a pulse program, we believe, really presents an opportunity for Line Manager to further engage their team based on feedback and data to sustain and improve engagement and advocacy score, what we call our ENPS, as well as have a positive impact on the employee experience. And I think we can argue on some of the outdated belief on employee engagement. It's not just HR role to handle engagement. External research actually shows that what every manager does on a day-to-day basis has critical impact on how engagement evolves over time. And again, what I said at the beginning, but I'm going to repeat it, it's not just about conducting survey. We need to put a system in place to listen, to understand, and most importantly, to support in order to act. So gathering employee feedback is just a starting point. Some companies do it daily, some companies do it weekly, monthly, few times per year. You probably wonder what's the right approach, right? I think for us, what we believe is it's not about the number of survey. It's really about growing the ability to listen and respond to employee feedback systematically across all levels, from individual to leadership, and developing that ability to close feedback to action gap is key to improving engagement. So how did we do it? First, I just wanted to flag that, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot being asked from Line Manager, and we've actually asked employees themselves what would be the definition and the behavioral trait that you would want to find or see in your leaders. And I'm not going to list everything on that slide, but you will see what they told us. There's a lot of expectation from Line Manager: business delivery, empathic leadership, no micromanagement, providing space to deliver, looking after the team well-being, career guidance and coaching, quality and timely feedback, timely rewards and recognition, all of that navigating in a hybrid environment. So really, Line Manager have so much on their plate. We really wanted to help them to make it easy for them and make sure that through their people manager journey, they were able to provide exceptional employee experience to their team. So what was our idea? Our idea was to create a one single entry point, a one-stop shop, if you wish, with dedicated content organized not around what our center of expertise are delivering, but around the people manager journey. And we call it our Line Manager Playbook. So through this channel, we are able to provide guidance, but not just guidance, not just tell them what they need to do. We tell them how they need to do it by giving them practical tools to support, again, line manager, people manager growth towards employee centricity. We build an understanding around the role that they play now in the experience, in the employee experience of a team, and during critical moments that matter. We mentioned people having babies, birthday, work anniversary, all of these are moments that matter. And the line manager is expected to act a specific way during those moments. We also prompt action planning through co-creation and feedback. And we really highlighted each episode. They were developed, they were tested and validated one module at the time. We didn't just work this out all in once. We created one module first, we tested it, we validated it, we released it, and then we worked on another one. And really, what the expectation is, the desired outcome, is to enable line manager to easily find the information and expected behavior they need to demonstrate when they need it, rather than getting buried under a lot of communication, a lot of information from HR on the different processes that they are expected to drive. So I want to show you how we created this with them, how we co-created this with them. Today, as you can see on this slide, we have 6 out of the 10 modules deployed and available. And here are these modules. We have I Manage Performance, which is built around our performance cycle and contains practical tools and tips, bite-sized information, what is expected and what role manager plays. This enables them to find the information when they need it, rather than being invited to an hour webinar when sometimes they don't even have time and they're missing the information, and then they can't find the email and they don't know where it is. So again, they can just click on that SharePoint, have it available when they need it. I reward and recognize with very employee-centric tool and practical tips and tricks on how to show daily appreciation and timely recognize team member. I engage my team with information on co-creation, engaging action plan, because again, it shouldn't be all on the shoulder of the line manager. The team needs to be involved in co-creating the action plan, and there, obviously, it's execution. I support my team well-being. This is a new modules that we created as well that builds awareness on what is in the line manager scope when supporting team well-being. I manage hybrid team, which help line manager ask powerful questions to understand individual and team needs, but also to support them in establishing successful hybrid work pattern. And finally, I'm on board, again, with very practical tips and checklist for line manager who just hired new member of their team. As I mentioned, each section of the playbook has truly been co-created with subject matter expert and line manager to ensure this content is built to meet their need. So let me show you some of these modules in a bit more detail. As I mentioned earlier, part of our employee listening landscape at PMI is our pulse survey mechanism, where we measure employee net promoter score and dimensions such as engagement, well-being, communication, clarity and confidence in a smoke-free future, senior leadership and culture, and so on. So this is typically conducted 3 times a year. We have a comprehensive survey that runs in Q4, which we use to as a basis for action planning. And we also have 2 subsequent survey in Q1 and in Q2 to look at some key indicator, adjust or pivot, and also track progress. And as we started to provide access to line manager to their team pulse results, we had to upskill them to ensure they are equipped to act upon this data. And that's when we developed this module as one of the first modules. We help them through explicit tools to identify root causes of some of the issues. We also, show them exercise that they can run with their team to co-create engaging action plan by prioritizing 2 or 3 areas that they want to focus on rather than trying to fix everything. And it's really, really helpful in the post planning activities. I reward and recognize. feeling recognized, and I heard this morning as well, is actually one of the key drivers of engagement and employee well-being. And based on our pulse results, there was an opportunity to improve our recognition dimension. So this led us to develop this I Reward and Recognize module, which features very employee-centric tool and practical, again, tips and tricks on how to show daily appreciation and timely recognition for team members. For example, if you go into ways to recognize your team, you will then be presented with options ranging from personal and one-to-one discussion to team exercise in case you manage big groups. And one of these team exercises is called Understanding Needs. And it's a very simple team exercise where you gather input from the team in terms of what worked for them, what doesn't work, and what we should start doing to improve the recognition experience. It's a very flexible exercise that can actually be used in other episodes, such as, well-being, or I manage hybrid teams. But then I manage hybrid teams. Hybrid working is actually not new for PMI. Some of us have worked from home occasionally before COVID, but it was really limited and not consistent across all location. And then, as you all know, when COVID hit, we were all forced to work from home. We didn't, have choices. And today we really have an opportunity to reap the benefits of both work, office and home, depending on our preferences and type of work that we deliver. So this led us to develop this module. And here we take managers through understanding the individual needs of their team, right? This is also something new we're asking line manager to do. Some will do it very well. Some will need a bit of support. So they need to understand individual needs. They need to understand collective needs, but they also need to be able to raise the organizational need in this new environment, making hybrid work and ensuring continuity and sustainability. So an example, for instance, of what we show them is to conduct a team retrospective. If you tell a manager, go ahead and conduct a team retrospective, they might not know, how do I do it? So just showing them the tool will really help them learn by doing, right? Or for instance, starting a meeting with a check-in. I see this more and more, but some people didn't know how to do it. So this really helped us review the progress on the action, reflecting on our ways of working, and agreeing on adjustment as needed. So let me move on to I support my team well-being. At PMI, we would like to create an environment of sustainable high performance, which supports employee well-being as enabler of work-life fulfillment and business result. And in fact, employee well-being is now one of our strategic priorities. The role of line manager is neither to become a well-being counselor, not to close their eyes on their team well-being. Rather, it is to be able to notice if something's wrong, to provide a safe space to talk about it with their team and guide them to the right resources. So I support my team well-being is intended for both line manager, but also team members, because we're all concerned when it comes to well-being, and it builds awareness of what is in our scope, and and leads to the wide range as well of resources that are available at PMI, such as our EAP program or mental health for training, which we recently developed as well. And then I wanted to finish up with some data, because in good experience-centric mindset, we need to measure what gets done and see if what we're working on is actually moving the needle. And as you can see, we're really, really happy with the trend we are seeing. We had over 20,000 visits to the Line Manager Playbook in 2022, with over 16,500 unique views of our Line Manager Playbook. And some of the data from our recent survey, our ENPS score has gone up 23 percentage points in 2 years, and it's today 42 percentage points above the international benchmark. Well-being, we ask a question, how would you rate your psychological or emotional well-being at present? It's up 11 points since our extended pulse last year, and it's 16 points above the international benchmark. I feel rightly recognized for my performance, up 11 points, and again, 11 points above the benchmark. My line manager is taking action based on our previous survey results, 4 points up versus extended pulse last year, and 27 points above the international benchmark. And then finally, action is being taken in my market function based on previous survey results, up 7 points versus the extended pulse last year, and 17 points above the benchmark. So I hope these data points will show you that really supporting line manager to easily access the data that they need, not just tell them what they need to do, but show them how they need to do it, is having a positive impact on all of those data points. But keeping true to the spirit of recognition, I wanted to end this sharing session with gratitude, because from design to deployment, I wanted to recognize the team responsible for the Line Manager Playbook. Clearly, it takes a village, and through meaningful collaboration, we were able to make this employee-centric product a success to support our line manager deliver a better experience to their team member. And as we move to close this session, if you remember one thing about my presentation, please remember this. Organizations don't change industry. People do. Through our human-to-human connection, we all have the power to ensure that our people have the best possible experiences to boost business performance and make a real difference in this world.